Hello and welcome back. I'm trying my Bluetooth earbuds for the microphone today, so let's see what the quality is like on this. Uh, this is The Archer's Paradox, Chapter 1, Part 2, which is a flashback 20 years into the past. Let's see how it goes. Travis? Yes, Mum? Travis broke off the conversation he was having with his brother and sister and leaned across the aisle, giving his full attention to the small grey-haired woman opposite, looking even more diminutive in the oversized seat. Do you think they would mind if I had another cup of coffee? She asked, indicating the two uniformed shapes slumped sullenly at the far end of the carriage. Mum, you are sitting in a first-class carriage for which I have paid loads of money for. He leaned forward, leering whilst waving an imaginary stack of banknotes. And their only purpose in their pitiful little lives for the next few hours is to satisfy your every wish when you want it. If you want coffee, you shall have coffee, he finished with a flourish. He put two fingers in his mouth and whistled shrilly. Oi, coffee, here, now, he demanded, beckoning the attendants over. And don't forget the biscuits. The two hostesses scowled at him. One finally got up and stomped off to find the trolley. Do you have to be so coarse? Chided his mother. He smiled back, patted her cheek, and kissed her on the forehead. So, you reckon this computer thing is the game to be in, do you? Alan, his brother, leaned over the intervening table in earnest. Look at me, Travis answered, spreading his arms to emphasize the statement. I left school with 3 O-levels, with crap grades to my name, and I bummed around in dead-end jobs for years. Then I blagged my way into this computer sales company. These new personal computer things were just starting to take off. 2 years later, and I'm earning more money than I know what to do with. The best part is, it's self-perpetuating, he exclaimed, beaming broadly. What do you mean? Queried his sister, Lucy. People just love new technology. He leaned forward as if taking his audience into his confidence. They want these personal computers because they think it'll free them from being held ransom by their big, lumbering, expensive computer departments. He sat back and smiled expansively. No problem. I'll sell them half a dozen. As a taster, they'll suddenly realize they don't know how to use them, and their computer departments won't or can't help. So I sell them training. But you can only sell so much training, can't you? Alan challenged. Yes, but when the users get better and start getting results, everyone wants one. I sell more. Oh, and of course, they all need training. He waved his arms expansively again. Then there's extras like printers, software, paper, forms, disks. And don't forget the maintenance and support contracts. You can't lose. The hostesses arrived with the coffee. Bring me another vodka, he demanded. And I'll have another whiskey while you're at it. That's the spirit, Dad. Travis leaned over to his father, who had just woken up in the window seat next to his mother, and winked. His mother tutted and looked apologetically at the hostesses. The hostesses glared at them all and stomped off. His mother gave them both a pained expression. It's all right, Mum. I'll give them a decent tip when we leave. You make sure you do, she chided, wagging a finger. You're so sharp you'll cut yourself one of these days. Yeah, it's running in the 230 Aintree, he completed in a stage whisper to his siblings, who sniggered appropriately. So, where did you meet? Asked Lucy, indicating the sleeping form next to Travis. Jean, he finished. Cute, isn't she? We've been seeing each other on and off for a few months now. That's a lifetime for you, Lucy exclaimed in mock surprise. I know, he lowered his voice to a stage whisper again. I think she might be the one. She goes like a train and doesn't whinge when I don't call her for a week. We met in a nightclub. I asked her if she wanted a ride in my big red Beamer, and she was all over me like a rash. Mum's right. You are getting coarse. Are you sure she didn't give you a rash? Lucy replied. Prude, he panted. Now tell us what really happened, interjected his brother. Nah, it's less fun. Travis tossed down the rest of his vodka and whistled shrilly to the hostesses. More vodka! Alan changed the subject. So, how much is this little jaunt set you back? Not your problem, brother of mine. The vodka was starting to take hold, and Travis's words were starting to slur ever so slightly. Your money is always my problem, he said sullenly. You have every immediate relative sitting in this carriage, Alan pressed. That's 28 people, including other halves. Good job we've only got a small family then, isn't it? Yes, but why? You never did explain properly. Truth? Yes. 100%? Yes. I need a drink. He downed a shot from in front of him. More vodka. Never mind, just bring the bottle, he demanded, and waited, collecting his befuddled thoughts while the drink arrived. Okay, the truth. He took a deep breath and paused theatrically. The truth is that for more than 5 years I've sponged off every single one of you at one time or another. He held up his hand to head off impeding protests. Not that there were any. I borrowed money, never paid it back. I've lied to you, cheated you. Turned up at stupid times of night, pissed out of my brain, demanding somewhere to sleep. Hell, Alan. I even borrowed your car without your permission, piled it into a wall with no insurance. You bastard! Alan exploded. I didn't know that. I thought it had been nicked. See what I mean? Travis replied, spreading his hands to emphasize the point. I went on a 5-year arsehole spree. Didn't you think it was strange that I was in hospital at the same time with cracked ribs and a broken leg? I bought you a bottle of wine and cigarettes, Alan said peevishly. You told me you'd been mugged. Fuck, I even gave you money. Lucy giggled behind her hand. Did you know about this? Alan glared accusingly at his sister. No one told me, but I put 2 and 2 together. Your car stolen and smashed up. Travis in hospital and a total arsehole, she said, counting the points on her fingers. Alan sat back heavily with his arm crossed. I suppose I was jealous, because you all had better careers and jobs than me. I was using you to fuel a lifestyle I couldn't afford, Travis explained apologetically. Anyway, he continued, since I landed this job, I've reevaluated myself, and I'm trying to make up for the past 5 years. I earned a whacking bonus last month, and I'm spending every last penny on my family. Partially to say sorry, partially to say thank you. Thank you? Lucy asked. Yeah, not one of you ever said no to me, never turned me away, or indeed turned me in. Never knew you smashed my car up, muttered Alan. You think that's bad? Don't mention to Grandma about her Victorian China tea service. The two looked aghast. Like I said, don't ever mention it. I've got a little enough self-esteem as it is. Travis heaved himself to his feet and stumbled to the front of the carriage. His progress was slow going, partially due to the occasional unpredictable lurch to the left or right of the speeding train every time it hit a bend or abnormality in the track, and partially due to the excess of alcohol in his blood. Once at his destination, he faced down the carriage, with feet apart to steady himself, and whistled long and loud. Can I have everyone's attention, please? He shouted at the top of his lungs, like a marketplace barker opening his stall. He waited for a second, running his hands through his unruly locks that refused to stay in the fashionable cut of the time. Everyone stopped talking and turned to face the unsteadily swaying man, including 2 businessmen at the far end who shook their heads in an exaggerated expression of displeasure. Travis caught their eyes and held them for a long moment. If you don't like the noise, you can fuck off. He jerked his thumb over his shoulder. At least I'm spending money on this train and not just trying to fiddle my expenses like you tossers. The next carriage is nearly empty. He continued. The next carriage is nearly empty. He continued to hold their gaze for a few seconds before breaking off. The 2 men exchanged a few hushed words, closed their briefcases, and moved off. Ladies, gentlemen, family, friends of family. Sean had woken up and peered blearily eyed over the back of her seat. Thank you for availing yourself of my hospitality. I hope you're all running up a huge bar bill. And remember, this is just the start. He spread his arms expansively and nearly plunged headlong into the floor as the train lurched to the left. You've not said where we're going. A voice boomed down the carriage. Or why? All I got was an invitation to said, pack a bag for the weekend and to bring me money, and a car'll pick us up. Then why are you here, Pat? Travis leered back. I were intrigued. To Black Leech of the family saying to bring nae cash? This I gotta see. Other members of the family nodded in agreement. Pat had a reputation for straight talking. He was a big man with a huge chest and a broad Yorkshire accent. Standing in excess of 6 feet tall, he dwarfed Travis by a good head. Pat, you'll never make a diplomat, Travis laughed. Nay, but they'll make a reet good ornament for the front of me wagon if thee fucks us over. Other members of the family nodded vigorously. Alan and Lucy have already had some of the inside gen, because I've had a few drinks and I can't hold my tongue. The rest of you will have to wait until tonight for the full story. However, you have my solemn promise that there will be no fucking over on this trip, except between consenting partners. He winked lewdly at Sian, who blushed furiously and ducked down behind the seat. For your information, Travis continued, we're making for the Highlands of Scotland, where I've hired a castle for the weekend. You're all invited to play golf, walk hills, drink scotch, whatever you want, and there'll be no bill to settle at the end. All will be revealed at the banquet tonight, he finished, spreading his arms again. He reached into the inside pocket of his jacket and pulled out a sheaf of brightly coloured booklets. I have brochures for you to devour. With that, he made his way back down the carriage, stopping at every table to leave one or more brochures, pointing out points of interest depending on who was at the table. There was a trip to a lace maker for the grandparents, sailing boats or fishing on the loch, secluded walks for teenage cousins with partners or for parents. The hostesses shuffled behind, refilling glasses, leaving fresh bottles of wine and dispensing snacks. As he passed Sian, he took off his jacket and tossed it to her. She folded it neatly to use as a pillow. By the time he reached the end of the carriage, the mixture of vodka and the unpredictable swaying of the train was starting to play havoc with his equilibrium. As a precaution, he ducked into the toilet and sat down. His head was spinning a little too much for comfort. Maybe shouting down the carriage had not been such a good idea. It was still only 11 in the morning, and shouting before lunchtime was never a good idea, he decided. A sudden jolt shook his body and threw him off the toilet, face first into the wall. He lay crumpled on the floor for a moment with his trousers round his ankles and blood pouring from his mashed nose. He struggled to seat himself, oblivious to the pain and the blood, before realizing that the toilet pan was now at 90 degrees to its normal position and he was sitting on the door to the corridor. It was then that his hearing caught up with his sight. A terrible screeching rent his ears, like thousands of fingernails being drawn down hundreds of blackboards, while dozens of malevolent dentists advanced on him with huge drills, whining shrilly. Another jolt, and the side of his head impacted the crazily hung pan. His senses reeled, half blinded by the curtain of blood issuing from the new wound above his right eye. Panic gripped his whole being. He tried to scream, but heard no sound. Time slowed to a crawl. A mix of new sounds grew in volume and intensity, like a non-stop motorway pileup, where vehicle after vehicle inexorably careered into the melee ahead. Then it was Travis' turn, as a steel girder passed inches from his face and ripped away the roof, which was now the wall, and the wall, which had become the roof of the stricken carriage. Another jolt catapulted him through the tear. His body somersaulted slowly in the air until his head was facing down to his point of departure. He dispassionately watched as the train receded from his view. Then he stopped in mid-flight. The wrecked train continued its drunken journey, while Travis hung in midair, watching it go. He looked up to the ground, which, as if it had just noticed him, suddenly rushed up to greet him. The pain stopped as blackness enveloped him. So that was chapter 1 of The Archer's Paradox. I look forward to seeing you for chapter 2.